Good morning, first chapter funners. Oh boy, Facebook played another trick on me and booted me out right in the middle of the broadcast. Those are the perils of broadcasting live, I suppose. So I'm going to start again. So good morning, everyone. How are you doing after another week of this weird new world, hopefully temporary, that we're on? Hello, Sandra. Welcome back after I got chucked out of Facebook. So I'm going to start all over again and tell you about this book that I'm reading from all over again. So today is Kate Anslinger's book, The Gift, which is this beautiful cover. And I have it on my iPad now so you can see it even better. That is so gorgeous. So this is actually the first book of 3, with I believe more to come, in the McKenna series. So I'll read the... I don't need my glasses because it's big enough. I'll read a little bit about Kate. So Kate is the author of the McKenna Mystery novels, a series that follows Detective Grace McKenna on her spree of secretly solving crimes with the help of her gift to see clues in the eyes of criminals. The Gift, the first book in the series, published in early 2017, Buried Secrets, published in June last year, and the third book, Never Tell, publishes in May. So, hi Kate. Kate just joined. This is the book I'm reading from, as in Kate Rock just joined. This is the book I'm reading from today, Kate Anslinger's The Gift. Kate herself is a journalist, a freelance writer and a veteran of the United States Air Force. Her debut novel, Saving Jason, touches upon the struggles of PTSD, a topic that is near and dear to her heart. And Kate lives in the sleepy beach town outside of Boston with her husband, 2 girls, and a Newfoundland pup. So, let me read you the blurb, or the description, and then I'll go straight into the prologue and chapter 1. Here we go. Detective Grace McKenna's mother has always told her that she has a gift. When she looks into a criminal's eyes, she can see haunting images of victims who have been wronged. One of those visions is the face of Jenny Silver, high school art teacher who has gone missing from the small town of Bridgeton, Massachusetts, where Grace works. When she makes eye contact with the possible suspect, Jenny's tortured face flashes before Grace, leaving an unsettling imprint on her. Grace finds herself making tough decisions to solve a case on her own, where she stumbles across town secrets and gets mixed up in an unlikely love affair. Sometimes a wrong can find a way to be righted all on its own. So this is the prologue and chapter 1 of The Gift by Kate Anslinger. Grace. I always knew I was different. My mother said that while other babies enter the world screaming, I was presented to her with a smile on my face and a look of calm in my dark ocean blue eyes. That was before they turned green and before I knew that I had a gift. Mum said that when she first held me, I looked up at the ceiling as if I was staring at something that made me unbelievably happy. Within minutes of being born, my tiny hands reached toward the light in the delivery room as a look of contentment swept across my face. The peace in my eyes was like nothing that she had ever seen before, and because of that, she asked the nurses if I was healthy. "Why isn't she crying?" she shouted at the nurses in a panic as she looked down at me with her own frightened green eyes. The nurses confirmed that I was fine and that all my physical tests and response times were average, if not above. They told her that some babies just don't cry at first. They assured my mother that one day I would find my voice. Chapter 1. Grace McKenna was only 3 years old when the first vision catapulted her into what her mother assumed was a really bad tantrum. They'd been walking down Main Street in Wentworth, a small Massachusetts town that boasted the best holiday shopping. It was almost Christmas, and Grace had been mesmerised by the colossal Christmas tree on display at the centre of the bustling ice skating rink. "Wait right there, Grace. Don't move," her mother said, as she turned toward the clerk at one of the stands selling homemade Christmas ornaments. Her mother kept one eye on her and one eye on the clerk as her hand navigated through her tattered faux leather fringe purse to retrieve her last $5 bill to purchase the glittery ornament. Money was as low as it always had been, but Ellen McKenna did her best with what she had and was determined to make Christmas special for her daughter. The small artificial Charlie Brown tree that they had at home had been swiped from a dumpster after the holidays last year, and Ellen used what few ornaments had been handed down to her. She couldn't leave the rest of the tree bare, so she hung silver measuring spoons from the scrawny branches, showing her daughter that they didn't need to spend a fortune to add some shine and sparkle to their lives. "Mama, look!" Grace yelled, pointing to a little girl who was twirling effortlessly in the centre of the skating rink in a short pale blue skirt, shimmery tights and a sparkly turtleneck sweater. "I'll be right there, sweetie," Ellen said, as she watched the clerk wrap the ice skater figurine ornament, complete with tissue paper and a sparkly red bow. Grace fell in love with watching the skaters glide across the ice, their ribbons trailing from their heads like the dolls she thought they were. Her eyes followed the skater in the blue skirt as she used a toned leg to push off the icy surface and accelerate across the rink and into the arms of a boy who skated with as much finesse as she did. She positioned herself in front of him, their arms linking as they soared across the ice arm in arm, creating a dance to the background music of Sinatra's voice bellowing, "I'll be home for Christmas." "Do you want to be an ice skater someday?" A man's voice pulled Grace from the trance. Startled, she dug her hands deeper into the pockets of her red hand-me-down pea coat. One of the big black buttons on the pocket dangled by a thread, partly from her habit of twirling them when she was nervous, and partly from the wear and tear of a winter coat worn by several children before her. As a little girl, Grace was painfully shy. Had her mum been within a few feet, she would have darted to her and manoeuvred her way between her legs, using them as a security blanket in which she could wrap herself to get away from the stranger. Instead, she looked slowly up at the man, the owner of the deep, scruffy voice that interrupted her concentration on the dancing skaters. She parted her lips to speak, the few sentences that she could put together at her young age mashed together and clogged her thoughts. Her wide-set green eyes, innocent until that moment, widened and latched onto his as if being pulled into a tunnel. Their eyes locked like two forces of opposite energies, hers pure and green, and his bloodshot, brown, and filled with corruption. Maybe her first vision was the worst, simply because it was the first, and it transformed the clarity of her innocence into a murky mess, having wiped her clean of any natural thoughts she had yet to form. Or maybe it really was the worst. It started with the body of a fair-skinned woman being dragged across muddied earth, the kind that is usually the result of a rainy spring day. Bursts of the woman's placid face flashed in and out like a blinking light. Grace was only 3 years old, but she was old enough to have the innate ability to know wrong from right. Something about these images left a sick feeling in her stomach. A flash of red hair splayed across the woman's emaciated face, chunks of crusty mud cemented into the corners of her mouth and deep into the hollows of her eyes. Dried blood left a line of colour down the woman's ashen body, starting at the neck and dipping between her breasts, ending at a jutting hip bone. A flash of the woman's face, displaying a pair of terrified eyes just seconds before a knife ran the length of her neck, leaving a neat slice for a pool of blood to spill out and onto her sharp collarbone. The images didn't come in order, but rather in short bursts of disarray. The vision made Grace emit a high-pitched scream. "Grace!" Ellen looked up from her interaction with the clerk and ran over. The freshly wrapped ornament fell to the ground, landing on a bed of fake cotton snow that enveloped the outside of the skating rink. Completely unaware of the man, she ran right past him, nearly jabbing his burly body with an elbow. By the time Ellen reached Grace, the little girl was lying on the ground, flailing her limbs in protest, as if someone was holding her down against her will. "Grace! Grace, honey! What's the matter?" Ellen's voice escalated. As a crowd started to gather around the scene, the man meandered away, hidden by the puffy winter coats and hats of the audience. The visions kept coming, flashes of crime that infiltrated Grace's mind. The red-haired woman's naked body being pulled and dropped into a pool of murky water, her red hair fanning out above the smooth black pool, making her look like a mystical mermaid. Her eyes were closed, a look of peace masking a face that had just witnessed her own murder, and then a flash of her sinking. "Grace, please, honey, what happened? Did something happen?" Ellen looked up at the audience, seeking witnesses who saw the start of her daughter's breakdown. "I just looked away for a second," she shouted, feeling the need to defend herself. "Grace, baby, what happened?" She cradled Grace's little body in her arms, pulling the peacoat closed where it had been torn open from the jerking movements of her daughter's arms and legs. "The man," Grace pointed a delicate finger toward the crowd as heads swiveled in search of a mystery man. When no one came forward as a witness, the crowd opened up and dispersed, going back to their Christmas shopping. "Maybe you should pay more attention to your child," a heavy-set woman said as she waddled by. Her eyes were so small, they looked like 2 raisins pushed into her head.
"Dude, that was weird,"
said a teenage boy to his friend.
"Maybe she's like that chicken poltergeist. She looked possessed."
"That man is bad, Mummy," Grace said between bouts of shaky sniffles. "What man, honey? Which man is bad?" Ellen asked, shaking off the comment of another passer-by who accused Grace of seeing ghosts. "He's gone. I don't see him anymore." Grace craned her neck, looking beyond the elegant skaters who hadn't missed a step in their routine. They soared across the ice like figurines in the centre of a snow globe, far from the world Grace had just witnessed. "Baby, are you sure you saw a man? What did he look like?" Ellen asked, trying her hardest to put out any doubt that had surfaced. Grace had a tendency to be a creative little girl, often having tea parties with invisible friends, but she'd never gone to extremes like this, especially in such a public place. She was painfully shy and did anything she could to divert attention from herself. "Honey, was the man one of your invisible friends?" "No, Mummy, the man is bad. He hurt the girl." Grace's voice was still slightly heightened by her adrenaline. "Honey, let's go home." Ellen had reached her limit. Now there was a girl too? Surely Grace was making this one up. She turned, remembering the ornament she had dropped, but there was no trace of the shiny red package. After the incident at the ice skating rink, Ellen put every earned penny towards psychologists, behavioural specialists and psychics on a mission to find out what her daughter was seeing and if her behaviour was normal. Nearly every shrink said that Grace was lonely and using her imagination to build worlds inside her head. The behavioural specialists claimed that Grace's visions were normal and it just meant that she was searching for more attention. "This behaviour is quite common in single-parent homes," one specialist told her. The psychics went to the opposite extreme, saying that Grace had powers from the other side, and for $10 more they could tell her what her daughter should do next to protect herself from the visions and evil that were headed her way. Ellen became fed up that no one was taking her seriously. She was determined to keep at it, believing the girl and standing by her when everyone else thought she was a freak. While not a religious person, Ellen had a childhood friend who went on to become a priest at a church in Boston. As a last resort, Ellen brought 5-year-old Grace to Father Burke, begging him to see her and give her an explanation. His response had been the most simple and straightforward. "Grace has been chosen as the recipient of a special gift. She was created by God to see visions of sinners. There are people of all backgrounds who have used meditation and hypnotic tools to receive the gift that Grace has naturally been given." Father Burke said the words calmly, as if he were talking to a friend about the weather. He was the first person to treat them with respect. He told Ellen that Grace's visions were called pictures, and that based on his experience, these pictures would contain one scene and usually appear in a flash without prior notice. "It happens very quickly," he said, "and the images will remain just long enough for Grace to notice them before they vanish." Ellen nodded. "When God gives you a gift, you are to use it and share it with the world to help others. So, my advice to you is to take these visions and piece them together to bring down the sinners. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but I'm sure Grace will find a way." Father Burke passed away from a heart attack only 2 years after their initial meeting. With Grace too young to understand, Ellen saved his words of advice and gently nudged Grace throughout her life, pushing her daughter to get involved in the world of law enforcement, where she could use her gift to help people. That was the first chapter, well, the prologue actually, and first chapter of Kate Anslinger's The Gift, the first in the McKenna Mystery series. Book 1, this was published in 2017. Buried Secrets came in June 2019, and Never Tell is coming on May the 6th. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that read. Sorry for the technical difficulties on Facebook, again booting me out. This is tomorrow's book, The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. Very excited to be reading this one too. So this will be tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern Time, as always, right here. And I hope you'll join me then. So until tomorrow, stay safe, stay kind, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.